Hiya, it's Owlet here for a review of The Name of the Doctor by Steven Moffat. Now, some of you may have thought that I was not going to post one, and I really did consider not watching the episode, but I caved after I had many people text me just caps lock and garbage of excitement, just gobbledygook, because they were so excited to have watched it. And then I was like, well, I guess I have to go see it for myself. Kind of wish I hadn't, to be perfectly honest. I'm not going to say that I was thrilled with the episode. I had to give it a few days to sit in. I was going to review it straight afterwards, but I just felt kind of overwhelmed by everything and needed a few days to kind of sort through my thoughts and feelings on it and discuss it at length with friends. And even now, I'm still not sure how I feel about it. So I think it's just going to be one of those episodes where I liked aspects of it, but I really didn't like other aspects of it. And let's get to those. The production values, there were some choices like, you know I hate voiceovers. That should be evident by now. So the whole, I'm Clara and I was made to save the Doctor voiceover at the beginning was like, I really hate that. I feel like it never gets the emotion of the person across properly, and she just sounded stupid, which she isn't, and it detracts from the acting ability and the writing ability. Like, there is no winning in most narration. The few exceptions to the rule being the Pushing Daisy series, in which the narration is key and somewhat makes the show, and Dead Like Me, again, where it is the main character who is narrating their life and internal monologue. It works very differently, whereas when it just happens on a whim, it just doesn't have the same weight to it, and I just really don't like it. I didn't mind the past Doctor's flashbacks, like having Clara weaved into that and then Dr. Simeon weaved into that. I don't think it was particularly flawless, but I mean, it's a difficult thing to do. The footage is old and different types. I don't feel it was necessary either, but hey, it's been done now, so it is what it is. Mainly because I feel like it complicates the entire Doctor Who series. Like, you're not just messing with Eleven's timeline now, or the New Who timeline now. You're messing with all of time and space, the Doctor's whole timeline. Which brings me to my next point of, if Clara was made to save the Doctor and existed with the first Doctor, and you see her telling the first Doctor not to pick the TARDIS he was going to pick, but go with the other one, then technically the TARDIS didn't choose the Doctor, and he didn't choose it. Clara had influence. So Clara was the cause and effect of many things. And I think that's a very big element to bring in, and I think that underpins a lot of work that had already been put into the series and just raises more questions than it does answers them. And so I don't know how I feel about that whole entire idea. And suspending disbelief or belief, I don't know which one, for a moment, and assuming that Clara and the Great Intelligence can walk into the Doctor's scar tissue and somehow change his past and future, so Dr. Simeon destroys it and turns all his good deeds into bad, and Clara rectifies that. How? How did she do it? There was no real evidence as to what she did other than cry on the floor for a bit, which is fair enough. She was overwhelmed and lost and didn't know where she was. Run around in 70s and 80s outfits being like, Doctor, 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 stop. And then like, then everything was magical and the Doctor went into his own scar tissue. Now this is where I have the biggest issue. If you go into your own grave, are you not dead? Like, I know time is wibbly wobbly, but I'm over that being an excuse. I legitimately do not understand how, if you go into your past and present, then you stop existing in the present. Because this isn't just like, oh, I'm going back to visit my past. He is going into his lifeline. It's almost like turning yourself inside out, imploding, if you will. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. This is science fiction. Maybe you can make up everything. But I'm pretty sure that there are like 3 main principles of time travel, and that is, you can never meet yourself. You should never date anybody, because it could be your grandma or grandparents, or your mother even, like Back to the Future, and that you should never kill anything because that could have repercussions in the future. So like, don't step on things. So I just feel like those were basic principles throughout almost all, you know, time traveling shows, and you just can't go into your lifeline and rewrite everything. And if you can, please, please, please explain to me how that works in the comments, because I still don't understand, and I've discussed it with several people now, and I'm just really confused, because if they can fix his past, how can he he, present self Doctor, go into his past and exist in wherever he was? What, were they inside his chest? Were they inside some kind of limbo, like heavenly plane thing? Like, I really just don't understand. River was back, which was great in some respects because we got closure. I really liked having closure on River because that has been dragged out for forever and I don't understand any of it. Nothing makes sense with River. I wish she didn't have to be so smug with every single line she says. Like, I didn't say my name. No, I did. What, like, it's just everything she says is just this weird flirtatious smugness, and she didn't start like that. When she was in the library, she was a very different person, and then she turned into that. And it was nice to see glimpses of past, like library kind of River back a bit, but not really. But it was just nice to get that closure. But I have no idea why she was so important to the Doctor. I have no idea why he married her. I have no idea how, you know, she knows his name. That was never explained. It was all just assumed that it happened in that pretty blue book of hers. And to me, personally, given the evidence, I do not think that there was love. I do not think that they had a relationship. I think she was brainwashed and just blackmailed the Doctor into everything that, like all the information that she needed. She was trained well from birth to do this. I still think that their alternative universe wedding was weird. To me, she's just this being who can cleverly jump through time to meet her end goal and purpose. Yes, she saved the Doctor. Yes, she fell for him in her weird Stockholm Syndrome kind of way. But I think the Doctor only believes he loves her because she says that. I think evidence in a book about time travel is just not concrete enough as the viewers and as a plot. We actually needed to see why River was so key. And we need to really see why Clara was so key, like how she is weaved into all of this. And also, who is Clara? Like, I know she's everyone now. She's like scattered throughout the universe like confetti. But is she a nanny? Why do they not care that she's time traveling so much? Why is this not a thing? She seems to act almost more like a flatmate than a nanny. Like, this is turning into a massive rant. I apologize for this, but clearly I've had a lot of feelings. I mean, I've written pages about it. It's just, I don't understand who she is yet, and maybe that will be revealed in the 50th special, or maybe if she continues to season 8, we'll get more on that. But right now, she's just a girl who happened to be everywhere in time because she crawled into the Doctor's scar tissue. Okay, and she blew in on the world on a leaf. Great. Thanks for clearing that one up. Acting-wise though, the cast were amazing. Matt Smith outdid himself. He managed to look 70 and carrying the weight of the entire universe on his face when he was confronted with his grave. That was really painful. I was really worried Jenny was genuinely dead for a while, and that was really, really upsetting. Vastra and Jenny's relationship is another thing that confuses me. Like, I understand that they were a couple, and then now they seem to act more like they're just partners in crime, like people who are together, which is fine. They can alternate, I guess. It's just I'm very confused as to... Either way, I still want to spin off series. They're still awesome, so I'm not even going to hate on them. There's no reason to hate on them. Jenna Louise was amazing, I think, particularly especially when she was in the scar tissue area and she was sobbing and lost and confused. I would probably say, and I'm not going to go into a massive feminist rant, that because she was made to save the Doctor, people have assumed that that was her being empowered because she is, you know, the one saving him. But ultimately, he still saved her at the end, carried her out of the darkness like a new bride on a honeymoon, and she was made to help a man. So yeah, I don't really know if that's actually all that empowering, but each to their own. I know that that's two sides of a coin, really. It's just how you interpret it, and I don't know if it was actually explicitly trying to be one thing or the other. It just is open to interpretation in that situation. I also don't understand how the Great Intelligence got all his power, or how he ended up there, or what he is, so hopefully that will be explained. I don't know how I feel about at the end where it's like, introducing John Hurt as the Doctor. Like, the credits for the 50th special are going to look so ridiculous. It's going to be like, Matt Smith as the Doctor, David Tennant as the Doctor, John Hurt as the Doctor. Like, and then if they wanted to, they could have like companion, companion, companion. And if they've got any more of those video footage of the past Doctors, it's just going to be a long list of Doctors. And that's kind of amusing, really. But it's just, that was another weird production value, like to pause it and be like, introducing tech stuff. I was like, this is not a Hollywood blockbuster, Moffat. But you do like to make it like that, so stick to what you know, I guess. So I think it was gripping. I think it was definitely emotional. I think a lot happened in it. I think there was a lot of quick fixes which didn't explain anything and raised more questions than answers. And I would say that I enjoyed the majority of the early parts of Series 7 more than the last two. And by that I mean the second half of Series 7, not with Amy and Rory. I'm talking about the Clara and Doctor episodes up until last week's and this week's. So the last two, it's kind of gone on a decline for the last two bits, but hopefully the 50th special will redeem that. Who knows, but I think I've ranted enough for today, so toodles. I lied, I had something else I wanted to add. There was another Sherlock Holmes reference in that. There was beekeeping. He said I was going to retire and take up watercolor or beekeeping. The beekeeping thing is another Sherlock Holmes reference. There has I'm almost certain been a Sherlock Holmes reference in almost every single episode of this series. I don't know if Moffat is trying to create canon Wholock, but if he is, he has a really ample opportunity to use Clara as Clara Watson, Harriet Watson's wife, from the BBC series Sherlock, who is married to Harriet Watson, who is John Watson's sister. So he could easily just write one of Clara's future timelines, now that she exists in all of time and space, where she happens to marry Harriet. And they don't even have to show each other in the same show. I'm not talking about that. Literally all we have to do is see Harriet turn up in Doctor Who, not BBC Sherlock, and just be like, my brother's a doctor too, like some kind of flippant reference about doctors, or have Harriet turn up in BBC Sherlock and be like, talking about Clara, and just be like, oh yeah, she could make a mean souffle. That's all he has to do to make canon Wholock, instead of just subtle Sherlock Holmes references. It's easy. The power is in your hands, Moffat. Use it wisely. Okay. Toodles.